I remember at one point he looked at me and he was like, but brother, why would you have a problem celebrating something that all of the church on every continent for 2,000 years has said, this is good for us to celebrate the birth of Christ on December 25th.
Yeah.
Because I was doing the weird thing like, well, let's just celebrate it another time. Since this is a pagan thing, let's just do it in April.
Yeah, let's do it on a different time.
And so he was like, but the church has said for 2,000 years consistently that this is good.
Yeah.
And yet you're here with this, novel idea. Hey friends, this is Snake on the Table. I'm Tanner Cartwright. This is here with the illustrious Jerry Doris.
There you
go. We're here to talk about anything and everything.
Yeah.
What we got today?
Tomorrow's Christmas, so we are talking about Christmas.
Makes sense.
And the question is, should Christians celebrate Christmas?
Should Christians celebrate Christmas?
So I noticed your mug there.
Yeah.
I scored that at
nice.
the War College gift exchange that we were doing.
It's pretty sweet.
I want that.
It's got a naughty and nice side, so it's like you can have the Grinch smiling or being naughty.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
I love how when you read the old Puritans, they'll use words like naughty to refer to someone having like slept with 48 women. Like they use words like naughty, and like to us in our day, we think of naughty
so
as
low on the
word naughty. It's kind of comical.
Yeah, we don't want to be on the naughty list.
So should Christians celebrate Christmas? When you met me,
yeah,
I think one of the first conversations we had was why I don't celebrate Christmas.
Yeah,
because we had joined the church about a month or so before the plant.
Yeah.
Ref Church plant, and that was
so that's 2017.
2017, but it was founded in October.
Yeah,
and so we were getting close to Christmas then, and so
Yeah.
it was a pertinent issue.
Yeah,
and so I remember still sitting on your back deck and just kind of being surprised that it didn't blow you away.
Yeah,
that you were willing to just talk through it and ask questions, and anyway. So,
do you remember also that I think I bought you a Christmas gift that Christmas?
I'm sure you did.
Yeah, I remember it because I had one. It was a bamboo book stand.
I still got it. Yeah.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, sure. Well,
you didn't
you
celebrate
played it off.
Merry.
You played it off. You was like, "Well, somebody got me this, and I've already got one."
Here's a gift. I know it's got a bow on it.
And you won me over. No. So then, several years at Ref Church, we didn't do anything.
Well, honestly, because it wasn't just you, there were several in the church, and I've just kind of always been iffy on it.
Okay.
And one of my big, regrets is that we did not establish traditions around Christmas.
Sure.
When the kids were young, we were iffy. There were times when we did it, didn't do it. Like Michelle's mom, that she wasn't into that, and so it became something that we didn't have a strong I definitely didn't have any theological basis for doing it. And of course you see the consumerism and all the wicked stuff that I think
some of it makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah,
Yeah, so if you don't have a good answer for why you're doing it, it just makes you like,
Exactly.
And so, growing up, we always did Christmas. I think it was some of the similar things. You do what, my parents kind of did what their parents did, and that's just what we did. And so, which is all fine. And then I had that went for years and years. There was a trial on my wife. And so,
because she
grew up, their family, Christmas was this huge deal. I mean, it was a big deal, and they really got into the Christmas spirit. Her mother, loves Christmas.
Yeah.
And I have a great mother-in-law.
So you kept that hidden, didn't you, before you got married?
Well, so
and then you sprung it on her.
I was coming to those. It wasn't dishonest. I was coming to those conclusions around the time me and Laura were, about to get married. In fact, one of the, I think, first arguments we had is before we got married was on this issue. Yeah. She just really struggled with it. And my mother-in-law told me that she wished she had known before we married her daughter that I wasn't going to celebrate Christmas. That was that big a deal to her.
Yeah.
So anyway, we struggled through that. And so for years we did nothing with none of the family. In fact, I worked Christmas Day many years. And so it just kind of was what it was. And I had come to that conclusion because I'd had some people tell me it had pagan roots and whatnot. And frankly, I watched a couple of weird YouTube videos and I was convinced.
Yeah.
Okay, I went down the conspiracy hole, but I went pretty shallow. I didn't really establish. I just, and then I was like, bam, this is what I believe.
Yeah.
It was immature, but regardless, for several years. Well, then I had a good brother, Joseph Spurgeon, good friend of ours.
Yep.
And it was kind of a big deal to him that I didn't do it, in the sense that he was willing. He asked me if he could take both our families out to dinner. And so we did that. And during the dinner, me and him were having a conversation about this and arguing and debating and go back and forth. And I remember at one point he looked at me and he was like, but brother, why would you have a problem celebrating something that all of the church on every continent for 2,000 years has said, this is good for us to celebrate the birth of Christ on December 25th.
Yeah.
Because I was doing the weird thing like, well, let's just celebrate it another time. Since this is a pagan thing, let's just do it in April.
Yeah, let's do it on a different time.
And so he was like, but the church has said for 2,000 years consistently that this is good.
Yeah.
And yet you're here with this, novel idea. And so that shook me up. That's really the only part of our conversation that I remember vividly. And so I went back and did some research because I was curious, has the church done this for 2,000 years?
Yeah, you wanted to verify.
I knew about Cromwell and the Puritans in England and outlawing it and all these kind of things for a time period. But there was a context to that.
Yeah.
And what had Christmas become, and the fact that the government and the church were intermingled and all, there's a lot to it. And so when I started doing research, all of a sudden I realized very quickly, this is not correct, that it came from pagan origins. Horace, and you look at, Horace was born of a virgin, or what all they've got all their stuff.
Yeah.
Well, he wasn't even born of a virgin. Like, all of it is just,
it's all nonsense.
It's ridiculous. So,
but people buy into that, man. They hook, line, and sinker, and they're like, this is what it is, and blah blah blah. And I think,
bro, when I found out
all that is fabricated.
It is. Well, it's twisted.
Yeah.
To make it look.
I mean, Horace was a real character,
sure.
but did he resurrect? And was he,
the Christmas tree in Jeremiah 10, and it's talking about fashioning an idol and setting up in your house, and everybody that I was around was like, "That's a Christmas tree," and so that doesn't hold up.
I'm sure there are people still in your life that
I'm sure
are that way.
Yes, but it doesn't hold up hermeneutically. I mean, at all. And so, but here's the thing: when I found out where Christmas trees came from, and Saint Boniface chopping down Donner's oak.
Yeah.
And then so one of the things that they worshipped there, the pagans, there was trees, different kinds of trees would symbolize different things. And he was like, look, cut down Donner's oak. Thor's not God. Look at here. I'll go you a step further. And he cut off cedar limbs. I think it was cedar or some kind of evergreen. And they were going and decorating their homes with them. And his point was, it was kind of to kind of show the false gods. It's like, hey, they can't do nothing to you. In fact, you can chop these trees down and decorate your house with them.
Yeah. And
that's where the Christmas tree came from and originated. So when I found that out, I mean, I was like, wait a minute here. Something's I've bought a lie.
Yeah.
And so I did more research, and over the next 2 or 3 years, it kind of snowballed, no pun intended. And to the point that today, like, I'm more into Christmas than any of my family, any of my brothers. Like, I am Mr. Christmas.
Yeah.
And so
show us the tattoo.
I love it. Yeah, I won't. But it's a Jerusalem cross with a Santa Claus hat.
Santa Claus, yeah.
That would
amazing.
be sick,
Oh,
man.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. But don't do tats, kids. So, but so in all seriousness, so that's where I'm at. I have researched the church calendar and all those things, and I think that it is a good argument that the church has consistently said for 2,000 years, this is a good thing that we celebrate the birth of Christ. There's a large portion of Matthew and Luke given to the story of Christ's birth and incarnation. The incarnation was the pivotal moment of history in which God intervened and came into this world as a man. Like, it is perhaps the greatest miracle that's ever happened, that God, eternal, omniscient, like the God of the universe, took on flesh.
Right.
Like what could you even compare that to?
Yeah.
And so it is incredible. It's amazing. It's something worth celebrating. And, even the conclusion I've come to is that even if it was pagan,
That was my next question. So what if it is pagan?
So even if it was from pagan origins,
Yeah.
I don't care. We own it. It's ours.
We're dominating.
Yes.
We're going to make
Yes.
everything a Christmas.
Yes.
Or everything a Christian holiday.
Exactly. So you think of the days of the week that we use, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Those originated from Sunday was the day you worship the sun.
Yeah.
Monday was Moon Day. I can't remember what Tuesday was, but they all had something.
Right.
Every day of the week. Well,
Yeah.
and what is Sunday now? When people think of Sunday, what do they instantly think of?
The Lord's Day.
The worship of the triune God.
Yeah. They don't.
And so we own it. And so I would say that we need to take dominion on all of these things. It's like, sorry, you don't get that. It's ours.
This is a famous meme about this, the Toyota-thon.
You keep griping and we will make
Toyota-thon
Toyota-thon.
a Christian
will be
holiday.
a Christian holiday.
Yeah.
And in all seriousness, they all will be, I believe, before
Yeah.
it's over, said and done. But
Yeah, so let me bring some context into
Yep.
this a little different. So I was a missionary in Turkey,
yes.
and I have seen during my time in Turkey, Christmas wasn't that big a deal, but it is today.
Mm.
And you have this Muslim nation that Christmas is a big deal, and it's actually an evangelism opportunity for the local church to get out there to preach and to explain. So Muslims, they'll accept Christ,
As a
coming
prophet or
as a
whatever.
prophet
Yeah.
and having a special birth and those kind of things. Just reject his death. And I mean, you say just, but I know that's a big deal. But
Yeah.
they still venerate him, and they believe that he's going to come back and judge and be the Messiah and those kind of things. So you can to celebrate his birth is something that they can do. Of course, they're also bringing in a lot of Western consumerism
Sure.
in there. But you've got a Muslim nation celebrating the birth of Christ.
Yeah.
And I love that. I think that's fantastic.
That's a win.
Yeah.
Yeah. Eventually we'll rename it back to Constantinople.
Yeah, that's good. You had mentioned Joseph Spurgeon. He
Yeah.
wrote a nine reasons to celebrate Christmas with a clean conscience. That just came out here on December 17th, but it's
Okay.
on truthscript.com. And
I haven't seen that yet. I'll look at that.
you can look at it right there. I
Well,
just
I
pulled
mean,
it
I
up.
ain't got time to read it right
Yeah,
now.
you're not going to read it now. It's pretty good. Yeah. But I won't go through those 9 reasons. Was Jesus born on December 25th?
So the early church, they didn't just pull it out of their hats, like just come up with it. So they did believe it was they had an idea of when he was conceived. And so I won't get into all the technical arguments. In fact, I'd have to reread them to do justice to it. But that's where, if you work from the date that they believed he was conceived, in the womb of the Virgin.
That's how the Germans say it. They say womb.
Womb.
The womb.
In the womb of the Virgin. Yeah. So from that date, they just 9 months, and so they came up with December 25th. And they actually did it like they were trying to figure it out. It wasn't like they just randomly came up with it. That was the date that they worked out, that it was around that.
Yeah.
And so whether it was on that day or not, I don't think matters.
Yeah.
I don't. I think that the reality is, I share the meme every year. It's my favorite meme out there. But the guy says, it's 2024, and we are so advanced, and you're still celebrating some made up thing. And then the guy with the Chad King with the Christmas hat, he goes 2024 years since what?
Yeah, exactly.
And then he just says Merry Christmas, and it's just it's perfect, because that even our calendar is based off the fact that God invaded Earth, as it were. And so anyway, I think that was the turning point from, now that we're progressing, Christianity is growing. And I know that some people tend to have a pessimistic view of, everything's so bad. Brother, everything is just gotten so much better from Christ's birth, and then having 12 disciples, and now the whole world, Christianity is everywhere. And so I think that it is a good thing to do. I think that we should embrace it and celebrate it with gusto and vigor, and teach our children and use it. This is one thing, because I was in a church and a group of people that nobody celebrated it. Mm-hmm. And they would all kind of say, because I had lots of conversations with them as I was coming out of it, they would say, but why don't we just celebrate at a different time? And let's talk about, they would not talk about the incarnation around Christmas because they were so careful and this, that, and the other. But what ended up happening is they actually never taught on the incarnation.
Yeah.
I know people from those circles and backgrounds that growing up, they've never read the Christmas story.
Yeah.
Like from Luke 2, the nativity story, whatever you want to call it. They've never actually sat down and gone through the incarnation. Or like right now, I'm taking my kids through an Advent book by Sproul and just goes through all the different things. It's fantastic. And it's just so much to worship our God for and to glory. And it's just fantastic.
So I will say, as Reformed Baptists, expositional verse by verse, we're not going to suspend our normal exposition of books that we're going through in order to address the incarnation once a year.
I don't think it would be bad if we did,
but we don't do that,
and I'm fine with that.
And even at Easter, we don't do that at Easter. We're just gonna roll on through, and there's a couple reasons why we do that. But mainly on Easter, it's because we celebrate the resurrection every Lord's Day.
Yeah,
that's part of our liturgy and how we think about things. Then, of course, on we do talk, because we talk a lot about the incarnation. It's part of our, even every gospel tract that we have, that he was born of a virgin. And,
yes.
So we talk about that and the necessity for Christ to have taken on flesh in order to represent us before the Father, and incredibly important. But one of the things that we started doing, which I like, is we do a candlelight service on Christmas Eve, where we really do focus in on the incarnation and Christ and all those kind of things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's good. I don't think.
Are you ready, by the way?
Am I ready? I've been working on it.
Okay, good.
So the
he's leading it.
Yeah. So so I don't think that for those churches that do on those days, whether it's Easter or Christmas or whatever it is, that they actually break from their normal, expositional sermons in order to focus in on that. I don't think there's a problem with that. I don't have a convictional problem with it. It's not what we do. I like what we do. I don't have a problem with it. But even on Resurrection Day, we would it's not like we ignore it.
No, it's special. What we have some. Now we're a little ahead here, but we have something special I think we do on that. So we have a big breakfast together, and then as a congregation, we all grab our signs, because we got lots of them when we go out to the road. Now, we haven't done it in our new place yet, and we're probably going to freak out the Catholics across the street. But we're going to literally line the roads with signs proclaiming Christ on that day. In fact, it reminds me, I probably want to print up some special signs for that day.
Some Catholic.
So I will say this: I'm working on a couple tracks. I want to do some Christmas tracks. For next year, because we've had some requests for those at Five Solas Press. But one of them that I'm looking to do is, as we see it in here, it says, "Now when they had gone, behold, an angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream, and he said, 'Get up, take the child and his mother, and flee to Egypt, and remain there until I tell you, for Herod is going to search for the child to destroy him.'" And the track, I want it to be something to the effect that Herod understood. Herod knew what Christmas was about.
Yes.
And it's about the king has arrived. The true king has arrived. Christ is king. That would be the focus of the track.
Well, and I think the pagans understand to some extent, some of them understand that, like, how important and what a big deal Christmas is and the celebration of it as a culture. And so what do you see them doing? Trying to force happy holidays down people's throats.
Sure.
Which holiday comes from holy days, so they're kind of shooting themselves.
They can't win.
They can't get away from it.
They can't win.
But they do those.
Or they
kind
do
of things.
Xmas with X, meaning that's Christ in
whatever. X marks the spot.
Well, X represents Christ.
You
in
get
Greek,
rid of Christ.
In Greek.
Yeah.
So
they can't get away from it.
Yeah.
Because God, for one thing, God's sovereign, and for another, He's got a sense of humor. But they recognize the need to try to minimize Christ in Christmas, because people celebrate it, people love it, and people love rejoicing, and even to the point that pagan radio stations, it's my favorite time of year, December, because all the pagan radio stations play songs that proclaim Christ is King.
Tell the story about us at the abortion clinic, bro. That was so
the greatest
good.
Story ever. I wish I had it recorded.
Yeah.
We might have somewhere. We should try to look. But so we're there at the abortion mill. This has been 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
and before it was shut down. And we were there, and there's this older gentleman that would come every week. I think he's passed away now, but he would sit by the door and open the door for people. And he would bring a little radio or thing.
Little boombox thing.
Yeah, a little boombox thing, and he would hook up to the Bluetooth on his phone and just play music.
Yeah.
So we're there. It's around Christmas, and
he had a radio station playing.
Either a radio station or just like a mix on his phone or
I don't know
whatever.
what it
I
was.
have no idea. But all of a sudden, it was which song was it?
Fall on your knees.
Yeah, which
I don't know what that song is. Is that a Coming Emmanuel?
No, I'm blanking on it. But anyway, but that's the one. It came on. Well, all of us out there just started singing.
We're singing this song and
I don't think he picked up on it.
Yeah.
He was old, he just was kind of sitting there out of it. He's used to us, talking and whatever. So he's sitting there, and all of a sudden we're like singing Fall on Your Knees. And like all of the escorts freak out and start trying to turn it off and change it. It's the greatest
so
thing
they
ever.
use that music to block out the preaching of the word. They're trying to
yeah.
make it distracting, and man, it unified us.
Yes.
We were so invigorated. It was so good.
And they ended up preaching the gospel.
Yeah, their songs were doing
yes.
it. Yeah, that was too good.
Anyway, but yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't know if there's any more. I mean, we could go point by point, but I don't think we want to do that.
No,
I just want to encourage people to really rethink it.
Yeah.
If the church has been behind this for so long, that was the catalyst for you. That's pretty important. Just to go back to something I said, I think it's important for you to have traditions as a family. And Father, you need to be leading your family this way. Whatever those traditions are, make them, establish them. If that's we open our gifts on Christmas Eve, or we have a special meal. We've started to try to do those things.
Yes.
It's late in the game for us. I wish we had done it younger.
Yeah.
And to make them Christ-centric and to really focus,
yes.
especially to kind of distance yourself from the consumerism that we see in our culture right now.
And to be clear, that's one thing I wanted to hit on. I think that it is good to feast. This shouldn't be a time of mourning. It is a time of celebration. So it's good to feast, to have lots of good food, and to, nice wine, all those kinds of things, and to have, with our children. When I first started out, I was just like, a very minimalist idea on it. I don't think that's right. The idea of giving gifts, extravagance. God was extravagant in giving us His Son. Yeah. And so while our lives, most people would say, are defined by, very minimalist. Most people, it was in our home, or how do you, on one income, how do you have 7 kids, all those kinds of things. They would view us as minimalists, but not around Christmas. Yeah. So at Christmas, it is we are intentional about the gifts we give, but you don't want to be stingy. You don't want to communicate stinginess when our God was so extravagant with us. The last thing I'll say is some people don't like Christmas because the idea comes from Christ in the Mass. Christmas. Yeah. And so they view it as being a Catholic thing. And I would say a couple things to that. Number one, back originally, that was before the Catholic Church was the Catholic Church as we know it. The church was celebrating Christmas.
This was us.
The church, if you want to, the Catholic Church, it was Christian. Yeah. Okay. And it went off the rails, and then hence the Reformation. But you can't say that everyone who's ever identified as Catholic was outside the Christian faith. You can't say that. It's just incorrect.
That's another snake.
Well, that'd be a good one to tackle. Yeah. But regardless, that and the fact that no one anymore, unless you are very Catholic, no one thinks of Christmas as Christ in the Mass anymore. There again, we own it. It belongs to us. So that's mine.
This is good stuff. Let's call this one.
Okay.
And if you've got questions, so something we're doing different now is if you go to snakeonthetable.com and you scroll to the bottom, you can leave an anonymous snake for us. We've already gotten several in by asking for that. I don't know that we would have gotten otherwise. Sure. Because people would, have to leave their name and or at least expose their email address. And so this is true anonymity. We don't know who it is. Some of we've gotten at least 2 that have asked, why are you gay? I accused Joseph Spurgeon about that. I said, I think that's you.
I know where one of them came from, I think. Yeah. That had to have been you, though.
We've already asked this question, actually.
Yeah.
I sent the video to that. It's already been asked. So stop sending that one in. Yeah. because we're not going to do it. So, anyways, we'll see you later.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas.